The 4th of June 2026, Thursday morning. A reading from the Common Buddhist Text, Guidance and Insight from the Buddha. We're in Chapter 8 from the perspective of the Mahayana tradition on meditation. Chief editor of this compilation is Dr. Mahadhamma Kosachand. We left off in seated meditation. This passage gives guidance from the sixth patriarch of Chan Buddhism, emphasizing that the inner purity is not something to be developed or known, but simply exhibited through non-attached awareness. The master instructed his followers in this way. In this teaching, sitting in concentration does not preliminary means concentrating on the mind or concentrating on purity, or nor does it mean being motionless. One could say that it means concentrating on the mind, but the mind is essentially illusionary. You should understand that the mind is like an illusion, so there is nothing for you to concentrate on. One could say that it means concentrating on purity, but human nature is essentially pure. However, it is because of illusionary thought that reality is obscured. If you get rid of illusionary thought, you will see that your own nature is pure. When you rouse your mind to concentrate on purity, the illusion of purity immediately arises. Illusions, though, are not located anywhere, and that one who concentrates is illusionary. Purity has no form. You give it a form when you say that this form is the results of the effort you put forth into your practice. Someone who views things in this way obscures his own nature and places himself in bondage, attachment. Spiritual friends, when you train yourself in motionlessness, when you see people, do not focus on their faults, on right or wrong, on good or bad. This is when your own nature will become motionless. Spiritual friends, deluded people may be motionless in body, but whenever they open their mouths, they talk about the strengths and shortcomings of others, their good or bad qualities, and how do they not follow the path. Concentrating on either the mind or on purity is the obstruction on the path. The master instructed his followers in this way. Spiritual friends, what does it mean to sit in concentration? Through the Dhamma, there is no obstruction or hindrance. Externally, the mind is not troubled by good or bad circumstances. This is what sitting means, concentrating. Internally, one sees the motionless of one's own nature. This is what is meant by concentration. Spiritual friends, what is meant by concentration, absorption, jhana, or concentration? Being free from characteristics externally is concentration, absorption, jhana. Being undisturbed internally is concentration. If you are attached to any external characteristic, then you will be disturbed internally. If there are no external characteristics, there will be no internal disturbances. Your original nature is pure, concentrated. It is only because of looking at objects and thinking about them that you become disturbed. If the mind does not become disturbed when it looks at objects, this is true concentration. Spiritual friends, when there are no external characteristics, this is concentration. When there is no internal disturbance, this is concentration absorption. Externally, it is concentration, and internally, it is concentration absorption. That is why it is called concentration and concentration absorption. It is said that in the sutra on the precepts of the person, on the perfection of their paramis, my original nature is essentially pure. Spiritual friends, in every moment of awareness, look inside yourselves and see that your own nature is essentially pure. Train yourselves, practice yourself, and you yourself would accomplish the path to Buddhahood, to Arihatship, Arahanta. This is cited from the Platform Sutra on the Sixth Patriarch, Daso, Volume 48, Text 2008, Section 5, page 353. The concentration of one form of conduct. This passage also from Huineng emphasizes that open non-attachment is the single key to concentration. The master said, "Spiritual friends, you should each purify your minds and listen to the explanation of Dhamma. If you wish to attain omniscience, you should attain concentration of one of the characteristics and the concentration of one form of conduct. If you do not hold on to any characteristic, if you do not like nor not like or dislike any characteristics, if you do not take hold of or reject any characteristics, if you do not think of gain and loss, success and failure, so forth, but simply remain peaceful and calm, blending yourself with emptiness, dwelling in tranquility. This is what's known as concentration of one characteristic. If your mind is always integrated and clear, whether you are walking, standing, sitting, or lying down, the seed of awakening will not be disturbed, and the Pure Land will undoubtedly be accomplished. This is what's known as concentration of one form of conduct. Anyone who has attained these two forms of concentration is like the earth when it has been sown with seeds which are well preserved and nurtured, so that they will bear ripe fruit. This concentration of one characteristics and concentration of one form of conduct are just like this. This explanation of the Dhamma is like the rain which falls at the right time to soak the whole of the great earth. Your Buddha nature is like seeds which will definitely yield fruit when they are watered by the rain. Anyone who practices this essential teaching which I have given will undoubtedly attain awakening. Anyone who practices according to my instructions will certainly obtain this wonderful fruit. This passage is cited from the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch, Tasso, Volume 48, Text 2008, Section 10, page 361. Concentration and wisdom. This passage from Huineng emphasizes that concentration and wisdom are two aspects of the same activity, which should be based on attunement of one's fundamental mind or self-nature. The Buddha nature, or the pure Buddha nature, one's mind should be free, flowing, and straightforward, not attached to or focused on anything in particular. Whether seated in concentration or moving about in the world, true reality, or suchness is beyond words. One is attuned to this through non-thought. free-flowing, direct, non-conceptual awareness. The master instructed his followers in this way. Spiritual friends, this Dhamma is based on concentration and wisdom. Everyone, do not make the deluded claim the concentration and wisdom are different. In their very being, concentration and wisdom are one thing, not two. Concentration is the substance of wisdom, and wisdom is the functioning of concentration. When wisdom is manifested, concentration is inherent in it. And when concentration is active, wisdom is present in it. If you understand this, then you will train yourselves equally in concentration and wisdom. Students of the path, do not claim that concentration and wisdom are separate. With wisdom arising from already existing concentration and concentration arising from already existing wisdom, those who hold this view see things in dualistic way. Their speech is wholesome, but not their minds. So wisdom and concentration are mere words, then they are not the same. If one's speech and one's mind are both wholesome, the inner and the outer are identical. Concentration is the same as wisdom. One is awakened and acts accordingly, not engaging in disputes. If one engages in disputes about what comes first and what follows, then you are just like those who are deluded, constantly vying to win the argument, ever more attached to themselves and to the external objects, and never free from the four states of being. Spiritual friends, what can concentration and wisdom be compared to? They are like the lamp and the light it gives. Wherever the lamp is, there is light. Wherever there is no lamp, there is darkness. The substance of light is the lamp. The light is the functioning of the lamp. Although they have different names, they have the same nature. This teaching on concentration and wisdom is just like this. The master instructed his followers in this way. Spiritual friends, the concentration of one form of conduct means acting with unified, straightforward mind in all one's movement, whether one is walking, standing, sitting, or lying down. The Vimalakriti Nidesa Sutra says, the straightforward mind is the seat of awakening. The straightforward mind is the pure land. Don't act with a distorted mind talking of straightforwardness. Speak about concentration of one conduct of form, but not having straightforward mind. Simply act with a straightforward mind. Don't cling to any phenomenon. The deluded cling to the characteristics of phenomenon and become attached to concentration of one form of conduct, saying bluntly, sitting motionless all the time without allowing wrong thoughts to arise in concentration of one form of conduct. Someone who sees things in this way is like an inanimate object, and this view obstructs the path for him. Spiritual friends, the path should be open and clear. How does it become obstructed? If the mind did not dwell amongst phenomenon, then the path would be open and clear. If one's mind dwells amongst phenomenon, one binds oneself. One might claim that it is simply a matter of sitting still and not moving. But Sariputra sat in seclusion in the forest and was criticized for this by Vimalakriti. Spiritual friends, in setting up your practice, you might be instructed to sit down, remain motionless, unagitated, and look into your mind, practicing concentration, calm, and insight. Deluded people, though, because of their misunderstanding, become attached to this, and their practice thus becomes distorted. There are many people like this. They instruct each other to act in this way, and so the misunderstanding has become widespread. The master instructed his followers in this way. Spiritual friends, originally the true teaching did not include the ideas of sudden and a gradual path, but people are either sharp or dull by nature. Deluded people practice gradually. Intelligent people get it right away. There are no difference between the two terms of their realization of their original mind, their insight into the original nature. But because of this difference, the provisional notions of sudden and gradual awakening have arisen. Spiritual friends, the main doctrine of the Dhamma I have explained thus has no thought. Its essence is freedom from characteristics, and its basis is not a binding. Freedom from characteristics is to abandon the characteristics of characteristics. No thought is to have no thought of thoughts, not abiding in its essential nature of human beings. It is one is verbally abused or insulted, criticized or confronted by enemies or relatives, and whether one experiences good or evil, the pleasant or the ugly in the world. One sees all things, experiences are empty, and nurtures no thought of retaliation. One does not think about previous thoughts in every moment of thought. If the previous thoughts, the present thought, and the coming thought succeed one another without interruption in such a way that one is thinking of every moment, then one is bound. If one does not dwell amongst phenomena, thinking of them in every moment, then one is unbound. This is why non-abiding is saying the basis of the Dhamma. Spiritual friends, abandoning all external characteristics is what's known as freedom from characteristics. Without characteristics, the essence of phenomenon is pure. Their essence is thus said to be free from characteristics. The mind, which remains uncontaminated when it sees sense objects, is said to be non-thinking. When one thinks, one should always remain unattached to sense objects and not allow thoughts to arise in the field of sense objects of awareness. If one stops thinking about everything, all thought will be eliminated. It is a serious error. Though to think that one would then die as soon as a single thought was missing and be reborn in another state of existence. The followers of the path should reflect on this. If one has not understood the meaning of the Dhamma, it is said to be expected that one will deceive oneself. But more than that, one might deceive others. If one has not seen one's own delusion, one may criticize the teaching of the Buddha. This is why no thought is taken as the main doctrine of the Dhamma. Spiritual friends, what does it mean to take non-thought as the main doctrine of the Dhamma? If the insight into the original nature is simply explained verbally, deluded people will continue giving rise to thoughts in the field of sense object, and so wrong views will come to arise in the fields of thinking. Out of this, all kinds of worldly concerns and fantasies will arise. If one understands the essential nature of things, that there is no independently extant object whatsoever which one can hold of, the idea that there is anything to get hold of, such that one could mistakenly talk of good fortune and bad fortune, is said to be defiled wrong view. This is why non-thought is taken to the main doctrine of this Dhamma door. Spiritual friends, when we say non, what is it that is negated by the non? When we say thought, what is that we think of by non? When we mean duality, no wearisomeness, mental defilement, mental kalesas, by thinking, we mean thinking about the nature of reality. Reality is the substance of thought. Thought is the functioning of reality. Reality gives rise to thought. The ear, the eye, the nose, the tongue cannot do this. Reality, its own nature, this is why it can give rise to thought. If reality did not exist, then the eye and the ear, forms and sounds would be instantaneously cut off. Spiritual friends, thought arises because of the nature of reality. even through the sixth sense, even through the six senses, ayatana. Hear, perceive, and know they are not defiled by the countless sense objects they encounter, and the nature of reality is always self-existent. It is therefore said in the sutra, someone who can penetrate the essence of all phenomenon does not become agitated in the realm of the ultimate truth. This is cited from the Platform Sutra of the Sixth Patriarch, Li Zi Tanjing, Ta So, Volume 48, Text 2008, Section 4, page 353. We will leave off there on Chapter 8 from the perspective of the Mahayana tradition on meditation, as we pick up in the inscription of the mind on faith. A common Buddhist text guidance and insight from the Buddha. Chief editor of this compilation, Dr. Mahadhamma Kosachan.